All right, let's dive into something huge that's happening right under our noses. We're talking about a massive global shift in artificial intelligence. But forget about cool apps or corporate gadgets for a second. We're talking about AI becoming a new and incredibly powerful form of national power. And really, it all comes down to this one big idea. AI is no longer just a tech issue, it's being transformed into a matter of national security and independence. This means it's not just in the hands of big tech companies anymore. Governments are making it a core priority. And believe me, that changes absolutely everything. So we're talking about a new battlefield. But what are countries even fighting for? Well, to really get a grip on this global race, we first have to define the prize. And that prize has a name: sovereign AI. So what is sovereign AI? Simply put, it's the push by a nation to build its own foundational AI models from the ground up. The whole goal is to control their own digital destiny, to achieve complete technological self-sufficiency. And this right here, this really lays out the whole shift in thinking. For years, we saw AI as a commercial tool, something cooked up in Silicon Valley. But the new view? It treats AI as a strategic national asset, kind of like a country's energy supply or its military. It's that crucial. Okay, so we get what it is, but the big question is, why? Why now? What's fueling this sudden global scramble for independence? Well, there are a few layers to it. Sure, it's about securing digital infrastructure and national security. Of course, national pride is a big part of it too. But the real driver, the thing at the very core of all this, is the deep-seated desire to not have to rely on anyone else's tech. For you and me, that means who controls the systems running our lives, from our banks to our healthcare. And that's not an exaggeration. We're talking about a historic moment here. For these nations, building their own AI is basically a 21st century declaration of independence. It's just that this time, the battlefield is entirely digital. All right, so we know why this is happening. Now, let's look at the players on the world stage. Who's actually in this race? Because let me tell you, the leaderboard is changing, and it's changing fast. The sources we looked at are crystal clear on this. This isn't just a two-horse race between the usual superpowers. No way. What we're witnessing is an absolutely global competition with new contenders stepping into the ring all the time. Let's just take a quick look at the scoreboard. Yeah, the US is still out in front with the sheer number of AI companies, but look closer. China is right there on its heels. And you've got the UK, Canada, and India with what are being called booming AI scenes. That gap is closing, and fast. And it's not just about the number of companies. The whole landscape of who builds the Tier 1 stuff, the really powerful foundational AI models, used to be an exclusive American club. But that's over. The rise of companies like France's Mistral AI proves that this race is now truly global. India is another perfect example. They're not just trying to build another version of what already exists. Through their national AI mission, they're pouring capital into creating AI that's specifically tailored for India's own unique needs, its languages, and its culture. They're building something new. We've covered the who and the why, but what's the ultimate consequence of this race? This is where the story takes a really fascinating and maybe even a little unsettling turn. So let's just pause and think about that for a second. What really happens when it's not just one or two countries, but dozens of nations, all wielding their own powerful, sovereign AIs? You know, for a while, the dream was this idea of a single, interconnected global intelligence, a shared resource for all of humanity. But that's not the future we seem to be getting. The reality that's emerging is a future of multiple, powerful, and competing AIs, all operating on their own terms. That could mean the digital tools you use every day might work very differently depending on where their AI was born. And this leads to what might be the most profound outcome of all. These AIs won't just be technical competitors. The sources suggest they're going to end up being culturally unique. So what does culturally unique actually mean? Well, it means an AI built in one country might be designed to prioritize community values, while an AI built in another might prioritize individual liberty. There won't be one single universal standard. Instead, each AI will carry the distinct worldview of the nation that created it. Just imagine how that could change everything from how your social media feed is moderated to the split-second ethical choices a self-driving car makes. Okay, that was a lot of big geopolitical stuff, I know. But what does it all really mean for you? Let's bring this whole thing home and boil it down to the essentials. If you remember just 3 things from this, make it these. Number 1, this is a massive power shift. The AI race is about national security now. 2, the field is diversifying. Top-tier AI isn't just a Silicon Valley thing anymore. And 3, fragmentation. We are almost certainly heading towards a future with many different, culturally distinct AIs, not just one. So at the end of the day, you have to understand, this is so much more than just a tech story. This is a story about power, about independence, and really about the future of our global values. Which leaves us with one final, pretty heavy question to think about. In a world of powerful, competing, and culturally unique AIs, whose values are going to win? Whose worldview is going to shape the next chapter of our story?